everyone, happy Friday. Sorry, I'm like a minute behind technological difficulties. But we're here. It's a little bit after 2 p.m. Thank you all for tuning in. If you're tuning in now or watching this later, thank you so much. Like always, this is Audrey Button from Safe Harbors of the Finger Lakes. I use the pronoun she, her, hers, and I'm a college specialist here at Safe Harbors of the Finger Lakes. So if you didn't see the schedule for this month, it is Pride Month. So we have a bunch of great topics we'll be talking about through the month. So there's 4 Fridays this month. So make sure you check them out if you haven't already. And so today we'll be talking about LGBTQ plus and the risk of trafficking, which actually goes off last week's discussion really well because we talked about the foster care children and the risk of trafficking as well. So this will be a great discussion to follow up with that from last Friday. So if you didn't watch it last week, make sure you check that out as well. And it's available on our Instagram page and our YouTube channel. And I always like to give a content warning because some of the material I may be discussing may be sensitive to some, so please take care of yourself however you need to. And I also like to give a disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this video are not necessarily those of Safe Harbors of the Finger Lakes, but of those in the video. And with that, we can go ahead and get started. And, hopefully everyone's kind of enjoying the weather. I think it's a little hot out, but hopefully you'll get outside and do something nice this weekend. So with that, we're going to talk about LGBTQ plus, and mostly I'll be focusing on youth, but just people in general and the risk for human trafficking and why this is an important discussion to have. And like I said, it kind of really goes well with last week's topic about foster care children and the risk of trafficking as well, okay? And so kind of just to get started, I know last week we talked a lot about this, but we're going to talk about, trafficking can affect anybody. It can impact anyone no matter the demographic, socioeconomic status, race, ethnicity. It happens anywhere because trafficking, there's, like we've talked about before, labor and sex trafficking. People can even be exploited online. And there's just, different types of it, different forms, and you'll see it in different places. But these traffickers know exactly what they're doing. They're looking for vulnerable individuals or we've talked about everyone has vulnerabilities, but they look for very specific ones that they know they can take advantage of these people or children to, exploit them, okay? So they specifically target individuals or people that they know they can easily manipulate or control, especially ones that don't have very good support systems or services in place. Example for the foster care children that we talked about last week, they tend to not have very good support systems, or they've been place to place. They don't have a very close support system to provide that support that they need, these people are marginalized by society, especially LGBTQ plus individuals, okay? So they're marginalized by society, so a lot of times they're, don't get a lot of support from society in general because of their identity and who they are. So that makes them extremely vulnerable for trafficking because of that. They're extremely vulnerable because this is due to the discrimination that they face, the misconceptions around that as well. Same with just the stigma and just the high rates of poverty and homelessness that exist within the LGBTQ plus community is making them more susceptible to being trafficked, okay? So traffickers know what to look for when they're looking for individuals to take advantage of and exploit. So they're going to look for that. A lot of times, I know we talked about how foster care children, if they're runaway or homeless, and a lot of, it's really sad that there's at least 40% of all homeless youth identify as LGBTQ plus. Almost half of the homeless youth identify as LGBTQ plus, and that that's definitely really concerning. I know we talked about that with foster care children as well last week. Especially LGBTQ plus youth, they, and people in general tend to have a lack of support systems, or they're, scared to come out, or they did and their family didn't handle it well, or there's anyone in their life didn't, they respond in a very negative way. But like I said, we all have vulnerabilities, but these populations especially are extremely vulnerable, and traffickers know that. So that's something to really keep in mind. And like I said, LGBTQ plus youth make up 40% of all homeless youth. And of those, out of the 40% of the homeless youth that were LGBTQ plus identifying, 46%, so almost half again, ran away because of family rejection. So a lot of times they don't have a very good support system. Their family rejected them or kicked them out, and they had nowhere else to go. So they ran away. And, of these youth, they were 7.4 times more likely to experience acts of sexual violence than their heterosexual peers. And this could be, due to their identity, but especially like they were probably sexually abused at home or sexually assaulted by other people due to their status in that community. And, out of these youth, out of the homeless youth that I mentioned, they were 3 to 7 times more likely to participate, and I say survival sex, because if it's a youth, obviously they can't legally consent to sex under the age of 18. And if you remember from trafficking, we talk about force, fraud, and coercion, and many times those are tactics that are used, like they use grooming tactics in order to take advantage of them. And then, they might use some sort of force, fraud, or coercion. And, they participate in this survival sex, and I say that in quotes because they need to get their basic needs met. If they're homeless or runaway, they have nowhere to go, so they might need shelter, they might need food, they might need clothes, and they do this to survive, just as it sounds. But another term for this that they use instead of survival sex is called commercial sexual exploitation of children, so CSEC. What it means is that someone's buying or selling a sex act or sexual imagery of a child. In return, they get something of value. There needs to be something of value given in return. So that might be shelter, that might be that food or clothes or whatever it may be, something of value. So that's known as survival sex. So commercial sexual exploitation of children. Okay? And like I said, traffickers tend to target especially runaway and homeless because if they can. And like I said, with the foster care children, they tend to not trust easily, because especially if they didn't have very good support systems or they were let down continuously by adults in their life or people in their life, it might be harder to rope them in at first. But once they do, they're usually easier to control in terms of that, because they might not have that good support system, or, traffickers definitely manipulate those situations because they know what they're doing. And, a way to prevent this, and there's many ways you can. I mean, a big thing is, for especially LGBTQ plus youth and just people in general, you need to have services that are inclusive and empowering for them, because a lot of times they were let down or no one's supportive of their identity or who they are. So creating that inclusive and empowering environment for them, and knowing that there are people there to support them, where the services are, what services are available for them. And there's so many other things you can do, like when working with people, not assuming pronouns, not forcing them to come out or sharing that they are out, because that's another thing that can be really traumatizing for them. Building up those support systems, especially if they don't have them back home. And there's so many other things you can do, but just something to really be aware of. And we talked about this last week, but there are definitely a higher risk for being trafficked because of their identity and historically speaking, how they're treated by society, and which makes them very susceptible. And traffickers know that. Like I said, traffickers do know that. So if you'd like more information about this, definitely reach out, because like I said, I could talk about this forever. But this is a good kind of follow-up to the discussion from last week. So if you want to learn more, reach out. You can always call us at our hotline, or if you need support services, call us at 800-247-7... No, hold on. I have the number wrong. Oh my goodness, it's been a week. So our hotline is 800... Now I'm trying to second guess myself. Hold on. No, I did have it right. Oh my goodness. 800-247-7273. And then you can always go to our website, which is www.shflny.org. And like I said, you can always comment or message us on social media. And make sure you check out the topics for the rest of the month. So after this, we'll have 3 more Fridays. And I appreciate you all checking this video out. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next Friday.